The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Hump Day in a Riv.
And today is a special day.
Today, very special. We have our first candidate guest in this year's elections, and we want to welcome him. Mr. Collin Dias, candidate for City Council. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk.
Thank you for having me on, Chip, CJ. Thank you to Bristol Community College for having the show, and thank you for having me on.
Well, give the people a little insight. We're going to have a half an hour. This is not going to be like a debate. You got 30 seconds and a minute. We want you to introduce yourself to the people, and then we'll go over some political things that you feel are necessary.
Sure.
Just introduce yourself and tell us what you think about why you want to be a city councilor.
Sure. Thank you again. My name is Collin Dias. I'm 19 years old. I'm a candidate for city council. I attend school in Bristol Community College, where I am right now. And I just want to say Bristol Community College is an amazing school which has things just like this, where the community can come in, discuss their ideas, platform. And I'm running because I believe there is a systematic network of under-the-table deals, the lack of transparency, and choices being made only for the privileged few and not for our community as a whole. And that's where I come in, because as a young person growing up, I've seen firsthand the lack of transparency and decisions being made for political purposes, being made for the privileged few, for those who benefit to get to the top, and not for the community as a whole. And I want to come in and eradicate the system and make Fall River work for everyone. Well,
that's a very commendable platform, because, as you know, it's been in the news a lot about what's going on with the special deals. But then we get to as a councilor, what do you feel your role can be to help turn the way the city does business around?
Sure. I just want to say first, you're going to hear a lot of candidates say, let's work together, let's end all the bickering, arguing. However, we can't confuse let's work together for let's work things down, because there's a fine line between working together to get some solutions done and legislation passed that will benefit the whole community, and that's where I want to come in. However, we cannot go on a trend where we're gonna not talk about certain issues, because it may start a heated debate. Heated debates are good, and as a counselor, I will be the most aggressive. I'll be a very aggressive counselor when it comes to holding public officials accountable. And I believe there is a system of lack of accountability, and I do have a plan to address this, if I can go into it.
Absolutely.
Sure. It's called my ethics reform package. It's a 4-pronged approach on how to tackle the lack of transparency and accountability in City Hall. First is a blind hiring process. I want to remove the name from the appointing body, which is the administration for most parts, and appointments be made on resume only, not who you know, not if your name's well recognized in the community, based on your resume, and whoever has the best resume be appointed for the job. And then then the name can be disclosed when it goes to the confirmation body, which would be the city council. Second would be, I want to ban political donations by appointed officials. saw this idea, so looking at politicians' campaign finance reports. I noticed a lot of public officials donate to politicians, which I think creates a big conflict of interest in the long run, especially when you have our corporation council donating to the mayor of Fall River, city administrator donating to the mayor of Fall River, CFO donating to the mayor of Fall River, chief of police donating to the mayor of Fall River, and it goes on, and the only way you're going to stop it is by making it the law that it be stopped, sadly, which I just want to see a ban on all aid to a local campaign by a public employee who was appointed or confirmed by said politician. I'm not saying if you're a police officer and you support a city councilor, I'm not suggesting a ban on donations for that. It's only basically workers in City Hall for the most part. And the third part would be common sense term limits. I think we've had many city councilors who were there before I was even born. Before I was born, or since I was a little kid. And I'm not suggesting that we have permanent term limits so individuals can never serve again. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is a city councilor can serve 2 consecutive terms in a row, and then they would have to take a break to have new blood, new ideas flow into our community. And if the city really likes these individuals, they can run again for 2 more consecutive terms after the break is over for 1 term, which is just 2 years. So it's really not that long, and if the community really loves them, they can come back. But it's just so we can get new individuals in there all the time. And last would be an ethics committee, because we can propose laws, we can propose ordinances, but think they will be followed by the city? No, they won't. So I want to form an independent ethics committee to enforce the ordinance that would ban political donations. And our charter actually has conflict of interest laws built into the charter, which is based off the state conflict of interest laws. And I would want this independent committee to oversee the ban I proposed, the ordinance, and to look at our conflict of interest laws and be aggressive in doing so, and even suggest call out any lack of transparency, unethical claims going on, and even levy fines. And I think that will really address and tackle the issue of the lack of accountability within our city government.
Well, that's a pretty comprehensive look at that, and we all know about ethics, and we talk about it on this show all the time about the lack of thereof. But as a councilor, we see, and we look at the present city council, and we talk a lot about how sometimes there's a lot of debate, and some of it's good debate. They bring up some very valid points, but then they vote basically for the issue that they just said wasn't the right course of action.
I've noticed that a lot. Yes.
They will rip apart something, and then ultimately it gets done. And that is I think a symptom of one of the problems in this city. I will, and I know you know this, but some of the people on the city don't know this. That is a separate branch of our government. It's a legislative branch of our government. It is supposed to be independent. It is supposed to be a check and balance.
Separate but equal, yes.
And as you said in your opening remarks, and we've said it here, debate is great. This country was created on some of the most contentious debate that ever took place. When the Revolutionary War was being talked about, the Revolution, there were very, very lively and very acrimonious debates in the Continental Congress and with our representatives throughout this nation. This nation, good debate, lively debate is not. It is part of the process. It is a very valuable part. If everybody marches in lockstep, it's the last time they did that, they were doing a goose step with Hitler. Right. But the thing is that as a councilor, do you feel that, are you going to be an advocate for maintaining the actual mission of the council and protecting, this is the big one, I hear this from people on the street, the taxpayer, because there seems to be a total disregard of the fact that the city council, as the legislative branch, controls the purse strings of this community. Yet,
They're the allocating authority.
Yet, in spite of the fact that they disagree with the mayor on many things, they continue to vote for budgets, fee increases, and tax increases. As a councilor, what are you gonna do about that? I understand the ethical part, but to me, it's unethical that we allow the people in this city, which is a poor city, to be victimized.
Right. I just want to say first, many decisions I've made personally, and not even as a counselor yet, maybe haven't helped me politically, like objecting to signatures, maybe being a little overzealous in calling out lack of transparency. I'm not doing this for myself or to make myself look good. I'm doing what I believe is best for the city, and as a counselor, I will vote for what is best for the community and not what is best for Collin Dias or what will help me politically. And going on to helping the taxpayer, there are many avenues we can look at to help and to be an advocate for the taxpayer. I'm really disappointed in seeing all these salary increases that are for part-time employees and which are unnecessary for their job performance. The city council needs to be more strict in allowing these stipends, these raises in fees and these raises in salaries. And what I can personally say as a city councilor for the taxpayer, I'm not going to be an advocate for taxing and raising fees on the taxpayer, on the renter, homeowner. I think we need to reduce the size of our government, first of all. I have a conservative mindset when it comes. I don't think we need a big government. And I think there are positions we should look at. And as a counselor, I would go in depth into where we can cut on certain positions, salaries. And I'm not a proponent for any new fee increases. I'm not for bringing back pay-as-you-throw. I'm not for bringing back the $10 trash fee. I think we have taxed and feed our community enough, and I think it's time we go back. And I think some ways we can go back is we'll start small. We can start small. Meter increases. The administration in the last year raised the meter fees. I think we can decrease on that, and we can decrease on many avenues. We can decrease property taxes. That's what I hear from going out in the community. All I hear is they're raising my property taxes. They're raising my property taxes. Maybe 1 year we can give the property owners a break. And we can look at other avenues where we can cut down, which is these unnecessary salary increases, the stipends, and they all add up after a while. They all do add up, and we need to look at where we can reduce and not where we can tax more. And that's my mindset going in if I'm elected to the city council.
Well, that's something that obviously CJ and I like to hear. We're big fans of small government, lean government, streamlined government.
I am as
and
well.
only providing the necessary services we need and being fair and equitable to everybody. But along those lines, we see a constant questioning of the true financial position of the city. The big question, do you support an independent forensic audit of the city of Fall River?
100%. 100%.
Well,
and it's time it gets brought to the table.
Yeah. Well, that's obviously it's a position that I advocate.
I hear it all the time, yes.
We know. And as far as your some people in the community, whenever you run for office or decide to be active, there are going to be people that are But you had every right, as we said on the show, to file an objection. You have every right to be active. You should be commended for that. It takes courage to stand up and fight for your convictions, whether people agree or disagree with convictions. I feel that you have to respect people who are willing to sit in front of a camera, stand in front of a camera, go in front of a city council, and do their job. And the thing is that we see Fall River, a lot of people I talk to, obviously they're complaining about taxes, they're complaining about fees, they're complaining about crime, they're complaining about a whole bunch of myriad of things. But what I hear is that they feel that Fall River has completely gone in the wrong direction, and they think that it's impossible to turn it around. You mentioned small steps. What's Collin Dias going to do to help begin that transition to turning this direction of this city where we're moving in a positive direction again?
Right. I believe to tackle all the issues in Fall River, I think we need to focus on where the root of the problem is. And that's why I proposed my ethics reform. I think we have a systematic network of under-the-table deals, decisions being made for the privileged few and not for what's best for the community. And there is a system there that has been around since before I was born. And it's the same people in there who support every administration there is or want to benefit themselves and donate to a political campaign so they can get the step ahead. And that's not right. And I think if we tackle that first, which the first thing I'm going to do as a city councilor is lay out my ethics reform package, advocate for it, fight for it, hope to get the 5 votes I need and the support of the next mayor, whoever that person may be. And if not, I'm going to go through the initiative petition process to get my ethics reform package through. I'm that confident it will address the issues that we have and at least start to tackle the systematic issues that we have when it comes to a lack of transparency. Because you see a lot of the city councils today may bring up an issue, but may drop it after someone may give them a phone call, someone may talk to them about it because it may not benefit that one specific person. It may uncover something that person may not want uncovered. And we need to address that. So the first thing I would do is lay out my proposal for ethics, and I'm going to be a counselor who will advocate for the taxpayer, advocate against under-the-table deals, against everything, the stipends, and everything that the taxpayers and our city residents don't want. And if we have that, we can finally begin to go in the right direction, and I think you will see government work for us again.
Yeah, I think you make a valid point. CJ, you want to interject anything?
Yeah, you know, the thing that gets me, and Collin, I know you're aware of this, you're one of 9 people, and your plans are very good. We agree with them, obviously, on so many respects. But the problem is, how can you develop enough of a coalition of city councilors to get items passed? Because remember, the city council's job is constituent services more than anything else and controlling the purse strings. And it makes it difficult because stipends are left to the discretion of the mayor. And the city council still hasn't passed an ordinance which limits stipends to an approval process in the city council. Again, it's nice to talk about it, but what would you do to make sure it happens?
Right, you just mentioned a great idea, and I think the councilors today would pass, seeing everything that's happened with this past administration, would pass an ordinance when it comes to stipends and whatnot. And I know I'm one of 9 councilors. It's going to take a lot of advocating. It's going to take work to get this passed. However, it's going to take, and again, that's where it comes with making relationships and working together to make compromises. I may have to compromise on some of my issues. However, like thank you for agreeing, and I have to make sure, and I have to advocate to the public and to the other counselors who are elected with me, and we might see a change in the council this year. We have 2 open seats, and there's a possibility that we might see 3 or 4 new counselors. And they're all advocating for the same thing I am. And if I believe I'm elected, it would be based on the fact that I would be, because I'm advocating for government accountability. And I think my election, if I am elected, would be because the voters want to see my ethics reform package pass through. And it's going to take a lot of advocating. It's going to take some compromise as well. However, I believe I can form the right relationships with the counselors to pass ethics reform, and it's being talked about by the mayoral candidates as well. They want to see ethics reform passed. It's going to take a coalition, and there are many avenues where I could pass this. And if the public really likes my ideas, and the council somehow we couldn't make an agreement, there are initiative petition processes that I would go through. And another great idea, what CJ said, was that we need to control the purse, and that's very important. And the council needs to have more of a say on reckless spending and reckless stipends for political purposes. And I would support 100% that, and I would fight I would be the proposer of such an ordinance to have a say in what the administration wants to do for stipends and reckless spending, of course.
Well, you made a very valid point about councilors talking about something then backing off. And that's the problem we see with the council. We talk about all the time. There never seems to be a majority of councilors who will stand up when the 11th hour comes. Because we hear a lot from candidates, and from especially people who support candidates who want to support administrations, that they perceive a city councilor's job is to work with the mayor and always work with the mayor. Mm-hmm. But in reality, what do you feel about the position that we've taken numerous times? That's not their job. They are elected to represent the people by Constitution, by the state Constitution and by the federal Constitution. You are representatives, all elected officials are representatives of the people. And your job is not to always work with the mayor. It's sometimes to disagree with the mayor and advocate and be the noisemaker, as you said before, and as we talked about in the revolution. And this is a problem in Fall River, and we see many times, we see councilors rise up against things, and they'll bring up very valid points, and ultimately it just disappears. Are you going to be the councilor that never goes away if he feels an issue is really important? Or are you going to be a counselor that talks a lot and disappears at some point in time during the dialogue?
I am going to be an activist counselor. I'm going to be, if I believe in something what's best for the community, I'm not going to let any political opinion get in my way. If I believe personally this is the best decision for the city, I'm going to advocate for that position. I'm going to listen to other counselors. I'm going to do my due diligence, my research, and nothing's going to stop me. No one's going to tell me to shut up. Can I say that?
Yeah, absolutely.
No one's going to tell me to shut up, be quiet. None of that's going to happen. I think I've proven that as well. I always say what I believe is right for the community. I think I've proven that to the community already, that I'm going to fight for what I believe is best, but for the community. And I've proven that already. And I would just like to say to the public, if a council candidate says we need to stop the bickering and let's work together, be careful, be aware that they just don't mean let's work to put other things away, to hide other things. Because, like you said, a councilor's responsibility is for the people and to fight for what is, and to advocate for what is best for the public, not just to work for or against an individual, but for the public.
You know, it's interesting, Colin. You use the term activist counselor. Some people in Fall River may feel scared of that position of an activist counselor. I think we need one. Don't get me wrong. I think we need somebody who's going to go against the grain. But how do you get across to those naysayers on an activist counselor that you're still the choice for them?
Well, CJ, you make a really good point, and I hear it all the time online, and I hear it in the community as well. That's not gonna be easy, of course, but as long as I show, like, I go on today, a show like this today, and I outline an actual plan on how I'm going to, on how the city, as a counselor, can work to tackle the lack of ethics in our community. As long as I outline a plan and I show that this plan is the best for our community, and I show the community that, and if we tackle the lack of ethics, the system that's been in place since before I was born, we can move forward as a community and do what is best for us. And if I can get that across to 4,500 voters, then I could get elected to the council, and then I believe an activist counselor is what we need right now, and I believe I'm that person.
Well, that's a pretty good answer, and I think that as we all, being an activist that's advocating for the people can't be viewed upon as being a negative when you're an elected official, if you're advocating for the people. So I see we're getting close to the end. So if there's anything that you really want to add to what you've said, I think the fact that you're not afraid to stand up and take the hits is pretty well documented. So I think you've got that working for you. I think that some people will say, well, I will stand up even if people are throwing snowballs at me, but you've proven that you're willing to do that. And to me, that's a positive. And people out there will say, well, he's just saying that, but that's not true. We've disagreed on issues.
Right, of course.
When we ran the recall, you were on the opposite side. Right. We disagreed, obviously, but we respected the fact that you had the right to do it, just as we respect.
Right, and I respect the right that you have the right to do it.
And just as we advocated for your right to object to those signatures. And see, that's the key. The key is to be able to understand that political differences, you can argue your position, but don't make it personal. That's the problem.
100%.
And when you use the word bickering, that means it applies personal. Mm-hmm. If you keep it business and the business of the city, it's good. So anything you want to wrap up, anything you think is really important that the people out there really got to know about you, Collin, to give you why is it important for them to give you one of their 9 votes?
I have 30 seconds.
If there's any questions, comments, I'm an open book. Anyone can ever contact me. If you love me, hate me, want to learn more about me, have any questions for me, definitely reach out to me on Facebook, social media. I'm an open book. I'm transparent as anyone could ever be. And if there's any questions for me, please feel free to reach out to me, and please vote on November 4th. And it's a very important election this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Collin. It's great to have you here. You're the first.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on again. Thank you very much.
Right.